Bears lose. Yo, what's up, world? Welcome back to the channel. APW Sports signing in, and yeah, you can tell by the disappointed look on my face. Bears lost. Bears lost, and some of the problems that I expected coming into this game proved its ugly head. So we lose to the Rams 34-14. And that's kind of why I didn't predict that the Bears would win this game, because of the problems that I saw coming into this game. But nonetheless, before I get into this, make sure you guys leave this video a like, comment down below what you thought about this game, and subscribe to the channel, and click the notification bell so you will not miss a single video. But let's just get into this game. Let's just get into it.
I'm striving to get rich. That's why I always went 2 years without buying shoes and feet. Things change now. My mom hearing me with my music and she look a little proud.
First thing is first. The defense. The corners, to be specific, because coming into this game, I believe that the corner spot for the Bears will be a big problem. And it proved this ugly head. It proved it. Not even just the corners, the safeties were out of place as well. Eddie Jackson looked out of place today. Jalen Johnson had a solid game, but outside of that, the Bears didn't get much from the corners. Vildor, nah. Christian, nah. Deshaun Gibson out of place. Eddie Jackson out of place. And Deion Bush wasn't playing. Duke Shelley didn't play. And I believe Duke Shelley would have been a better fit than Vildor, in my opinion. The Bears corners did not look very good. And I was a concern of mine coming into this game, and this is why I picked the Rams to beat the Bears. Despite all this Bears stuff I have on, despite all this Bears stuff behind me, I believe that the Bears corners did not have enough to keep up with the Rams wide receiving core and Cup, with the Van Jeffersons of the world, the Robert Woods, Higbee at the tight end spot. Deshaun Jackson really didn't play that much of a role. Like, I kind of figured he wasn't going to play that much of a role, but And Stafford, I believe, would have been, he's an upgrade over Jared Goff. Let's just point it as it is. I've always said he was the most underrated quarterback because he was so stuck in that bad situation in Detroit. And, hey, he played a very solid game. And then on top of that, with this Bears defense, we did not create a consistent pass rush. One thing that proved this ugly head last year, and it proved again today, the presence of Eddie Goldman was missed tremendously. And I believe that this depth of the defensive rotation, especially in the front four, was impacted tremendously. And they did not get enough pass rush. Robert Quinn was a no-show once again. I would have thought he would have came out with a chip on his shoulder and have more to prove against his former team. He didn't have that great of a year last year with that big 5-year, $75 million contract. I would have figured he came out and made more of his presence felt. Mind you, the Rams have a really solid offensive line. Mind you, I will give Rams the credit where the credit is due. They have a very, very solid offensive line. But the Bears just were not able to create much pressure with the front four. They blitzed a couple of times, but the Rams' offensive line was solid enough to pick it up. The Bears did not have much of a pass rush, which in turn elevates the secondary problem that we already had coming into this game, and it made it look a lot worse because we were not getting any pass rush. Defensively, I would have figured Sean Desai's scheme would work, but I just don't believe the Bears have the personnel, mainly in the back end, to get the scheme really executed. I don't think the Bears have enough in their secondary to get this scheme executed. I don't think the Bears produce enough at the corners to get this scheme to where it can be. I just don't believe it. I said it in my preview video, is that the Bears secondary was a suspect. The Bears secondary is a huge question. I don't know what made their release of Desmond Trufant. I don't know what led into that. The secondary of the Chicago Bears is not very good. And you're going up against a guy like Sean McVay, a very, very good offensive mind. A very, very good offensive mind. And it proves different when you had Jared Goff, who I think was limited at some point, and that's why the Rams really got rid of him. I think he was limited, and I think you bring in a guy like Stafford, And I think that elevated this offense, which is why I said the Bears will not win this football game, is because Matthew Stafford is an upgrade. Let's just call a spade, and Matthew Stafford is an upgrade over Jared Goff, and he had good games against his Bears defenses when he was with the Detroit Lions. So let's just not say that it was just all the secondary. Yes, secondary was not god-awful, but they were going up against, I believe, and a lot of people might crash me for this, I believe Matthew Stafford is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. And the only reason he wasn't getting a lot of credit that he rightfully deserved, in my opinion, is because he's stuck on a bad Lions team. So I have to give credit where credit is due. The Rams offense exposed the Bears' weakest hole is just secondary, with those two deep bombs to Kupp and Van Jefferson. And the tackling in the back end wasn't so good either. The Bears did not tackle very well. And that was a problem this preseason, was the tackling. The Bears didn't tackle very well. The big problem was the secondary and the tackling on the defensive side of the ball, and we just did not get enough pass rush. And on the offensive side of the ball for the Bears, where do I start? Where do I start with the Bears offense? Now, granted, Andy Dalton didn't really play that bad of a game, if you want to be honest. He made a couple of bad decisions early, but I think as the game went on, he started to play a little bit better. But I believe the problem with this Bears offense, and I will say it again, and I've said it for the past, I want to say 2-3 years, is the scheme. Now, I get a lot of criticism for me criticizing Matt Nagy, but at some point, we have to put the blame on him as Bears fans. We can not keep defending Matt Nagy. Now, granted, the running game was way more productive than I expected it to be with Aaron Donald. David Montgomery is a load. He is a load, which is why I wanted him to get the football more last year, because he is one of those backs. The more he gets the football, the better he becomes, and you wear defensives down, especially with the Bears scheme that's not really schematically a scheme that attacks deep. It doesn't really attack deep, and it didn't tonight. It did not attack deep tonight. And on top of it not attacking deep, you have a 4th and 15. You need to make the game closer, and you go for it, yet you have not attacked deep. You really haven't shown a threat of attacking deep in the game, but yet you go for it on 4th and 15 instead of just taking the points that you need to get the game closer. Now, I could go back and sit back, and I can understand just a small bit of why he would go for it, because the secondary wasn't proven to stop anything. But at some point, you just have to take points, because the way your offense is, the points were not easy to come by, so you have to take them where you can get them. Because in this scheme, the Bears don't score a lot of points. The Bears are not a team that scores a lot of points. And on top of that, the Bears are not creating any turnovers. That's a big problem. They didn't create many turnovers last year, and we didn't get any today. The Bears are a team, I believe, offensively that can feed off the fact of a turnover. We didn't get any turnovers today. We haven't really gotten too many turnovers last year. So I believe when you're not getting turnovers, you have to find a way to create more offense. You have to find a way to attack deeper. Use the speed that you brought in. You brought in a good one for his speed. You brought in a guy like Demir Bird for his speed, and you really didn't see him tonight. Darnell Mooney has really good speed. I know Tariq Cohen, I wish he was back. I think he could have made a bigger difference in his offense tonight. But the Bears do have some really good personnel. Allen Robinson, he wasn't that big of a factor. I didn't to a certain point, I didn't expect him to be that big of a factor, especially when Jalen Ramsey's traveling him for most of the point, and we all know how great of a corner that Jalen Ramsey is. I will give the Bears offensive line credit. They did a really solid job with Aaron Donald. I thought Aaron Donald was going to have his presence felt more than what it has tonight. More than what it did tonight. I am not going to lie. More than what it did in the game. they did a solid job. The Bears offensive line really played a much better game. Even though I always get on Ifedi, if you guys know. I always get on him. But the Bears offensive line did play a solid game. Now, it doesn't help that Jason Peters is out again with another injury in his career. Larry Burrow came in and he immediately got hurt. So on top of that, Tevin Jenkins is probably not going to play at all this year. So the Bears offensive line is already getting hampered with some injuries. It's going to be a wild ride. And to be 100% honest, I kind of figured it would be a Justin Fields package at some point. You guys know I am a diehard Justin Fields guy from Ohio State days. He got his rushing touchdown. He completed his first pass. I was expecting them to have more of a Justin Fields package, so that didn't kind of come off as a surprise that they got him in. But I believe he learned a little bit as far as sitting there and watching Andy Dalton get the ball out quick, because when you watch Justin Fields in college, he holds the ball a lot. He holds the ball along. Now, granted, he did have one of the better offensive lines of college football, and he had those weapons to attack deep. But I think that plays a part in the reason why the Bears didn't want to start him right away, because he has a tendency to hold the football for a little bit, and they're trying to break that habit. So I get the fact of Andy Dalton starting. Andy Dalton got the ball out very quickly tonight. He got the ball out quickly. He made a couple of bad throws, but I think if the Bears didn't get a bad throw from Dalton and they kind of erase those two big plays, the game might have been closer than what it was. Now, I don't believe the Bears would win this game still, because I've said that coming into this game, I don't think the Bears had enough to actually beat the Rams. I just did not believe it. They don't attack down the field enough. They didn't attack it at all tonight to really beat the Rams. And we all know the Rams are a Super Bowl contending team. And coming into this game, I felt that this is a measuring stick for the Bears to really see where they are. Were they going to make this game more competitive? And it was actually a competitive game outside those two big plays and the interception. It was actually a closer game a little bit than the score might indicate, because the Bears made a ton of mistakes that led into Ram points. Overall, the Bears have to tackle more. They have to push the ball down the field some way, somehow, because you're not going to win many football games when you're dinking and dunking like that. Even though the running game was way more successful than I ever thought it could be in the game coming into the night, despite it being David Montgomery, and I've been high on him, I was not trusting the offensive line to really contain Aaron Donald, and they did for the most part. At the end of the day, secondary, it has to find a way to get better. They have to be in the right positions. They have to communicate in the back end. And offensively, we have to find some type of way to actually attack down the field more to open things up for this offense. Because scoring 14 points a game in this offensive league, you're not going to win very many football games. Let's just point it as it is. You're not going to win very many football games. And I'm not going to get into the whole Dalton, Justin Fields debate, because I've said on this channel numerous of times that Fields does not need to be out there right now. As much as I'm high on him, as much as I believe him, and as much as I'm a fan of him, he doesn't need to be out there right now. He just doesn't. Even though when he came into the game, he made some really good plays, and it was positive plays coming out of Justin Fields. I'll say it again, I'm not a fan of Nagy's scheme. I'm just not a fan of the scheme. And it's going into year 3, I believe, with us Bear fans calling for them to attack more, do something. Because on third, it was a very good amount of 3rd and 8s, 3rd and 10s that those plays really just turn into screen plays, short routes. I believe at some point you have to attack more. That West Coast offense, I get it. The West Coast offense is a short passing game offense. I understand that. I know that. But even with teams that do run the West Coast offense, they find a way to attack when they need to attack. And the Bears didn't attack at all offensively tonight. at all, at least deep down the field at all. Dalton didn't have a pass, at least in my eyes, that was longer than 15 yards. Air yards at that. 15 yards down the field, I did not see one. I could be wrong, but from my vantage point, I did not see a pass deeper than 15 yards. And that is a problem. Even though the Bears won the time of possession, which is a very good thing, they didn't capitalize on that because we missed on a couple of fourth downs and we got in the red zone and threw the interception. At some point, we had to attack down the field. Now, I'm not saying go all heavy down the field, but at some point, you do have to attack. And we didn't do it. And the secondary has to get better. We have to tackle. So, and all of this was something that I had revelations about coming into this game, coming into this year, honestly, is that I don't think the Bears schematically are there on both sides of the ball. Mainly on offense, schematically, I think defensively is more personnel with the corners than it is schematically. Bears lose 34-14. Sunday night primetime again. The Bears do not show up on primetime games. I'm almost to a point to where the Bears don't need any. But I can ramble on for however long about this game, but I'm going to end the video here. Let me know what you guys think about this game down below. The Bears lose 34-14. If you enjoyed it, leave this video a like. That helps the channel to grow. And if you've gotten to this point, you have not subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button and notification bell. And another thing to let me know that you've gotten to this point of the video, comment down below Justin Fields' first touchdown to let me know that you guys got to this point in the video. But I've said enough. APW Sports signing out. You guys stay safe. Have a great and excellent day. And I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.